web services outage.
Amazon says it's seeing significant signs of recovery.
Challenges face Gaza ceasefire.
Ceasefire still in place, guys.
Thieves strike the Louvre.
Made a beeline for the Apollo room.
Good morning, I'm Steve Kathan. With the CBS World News Roundup, Amazon's cloud services were hit by a global outage affecting everything from Amazon Prime to Fortnite and Alexa. CBS's Kelly O'Grady.
We've seen hundreds of major sites from banks to phone and internet service and entertainment companies affected overnight. The Amazon Cloud Service, AWS, now says, quote, the underlying DNS issue has been fully mitigated and most AWS service operations are succeeding normally now. The website Down Detector, it tracks web outages, reported issues with dozens of major sites like Amazon, Venmo, Spectrum, Ring, Verizon, Coinbase. The list goes on. Of course, Coinbase, a cryptocurrency exchange.
Now to the Middle East and new threats to the fragile ceasefire in Gaza. Here's CBS's Deborah Patton.
45 Palestinians were killed in Israeli strikes, say local health officials, and 2 soldiers say the Israel Defense Forces when Hamas opened fire using an RPG. As mediators race to get the ceasefire back on track, President Trump had this to say.
It's going to be handled toughly but properly. Is the ceasefire still in place?
Yeah, it's
Families had come out to enjoy a quiet moment at the seaside cafe when an Israeli strike shattered the peace. And the blood-soaked scenes they thought were a thing of the past had returned.
On 60 Minutes, correspondent Leslie Stahl asked envoy Jared Kushner how the ceasefire deal was worked out.
There were a couple intense moments that we had, but what led to this was really the trust that we were able to build. And I was trained in foreign policy, really in President Trump's first term, by seeing an outsider president come into Washington with a different school of foreign policy than had been brought in place for the 20 or 30 years prior.
Now to Paris, correspondent Elizabeth Palmer has the latest on the brazen jewel theft at one of the world's most famous museums, the Louvre.
It was a heist in plain sight. The thieves parked a mobile ladder against the wall of the Louvre at 9 on Sunday morning. Then police say they broke this window and made straight for the sumptuous Apollo Gallery, where France's crown jewels are on display. It took them 7 minutes and a circular saw to steal 9 priceless objects, including a pearl and diamond tiara made for Napoleon III's wife, Eugenie, and a whole sapphire-studded set.
At the White House, CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns has more on the fallout from the latest U.S. military strikes in the Caribbean.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced Sunday that 3 people were killed during the 7th strike on an alleged drug vessel Friday. This one allegedly linked to a Colombian guerrilla group. The strike came just 1 day after a U.S. attack on a submersible in the Caribbean Sea killed 2 men and left 2 survivors, a Colombian and an Ecuadorian, who were returned to their home countries.
We're certain these guys are narco-terrorists.
Returning to Washington last night, President Trump said that new tariffs would soon be announced against Colombia.
They are a drug manufacturing machine, Colombia, and we're not going to be part of this.
This weekend, Colombian President Gustavo Petro claimed a U.S. strike on a boat last month killed a fisherman, accusing the American government of murder.
The FBI is investigating the discovery of an apparent hunting stand with a direct sight line near an area of the Palm Beach airport used by Air Force One when President Trump travels to Florida. CBS News has learned it's been there for months and was part of the airport closed off for the past year due to construction. The California Highway Patrol says shrapnel from an artillery shell that detonated prematurely during a U.S. military demonstration at Camp Pendleton hit a law enforcement vehicle. Governor Gavin Newsom had been critical of the live fire display leading up to the event and closed off a 17-mile stretch of Interstate 5. Newsom says the discharge could have killed someone. 4 minutes after the hour.
Well, that's today's news. I didn't hear any good news, did you? I didn't think so. It's 51 degrees in San Lorenzo, California. Well, as always, I'd like to thank you again for coming along with me on these Dash Cam News adventures. You know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz. Bye-bye.